Today we're actually going over all of the books that I read this summer. Stick around. Do you consider yourself a book lover, bookworm, book addict, or book geek? Well, feed your need now by subscribing for more bookish videos. So today I'm actually gonna go over all of the books that I read this summer, and fall has just started. The leaves are gonna start changing color soon. They are not fully changed here in New York City, but I'm really excited about the new season that's starting. It's time for Halloween and scary stories and all of that. But before that, there was summer of 2018, and I'm gonna share with you all of the books that I read this summer. So let's get right into it. So the first book I read this summer is Robin by Dave Itzkoff. So it's the biography of Robin Williams and all of the things that he had to overcome. You know what's so cool about this book is that we got to learn the inside of who Robin really was and how he was as a person, not just a comedian, not just a stand-up comedian that we see that in movies and things like that. So we get to know the real him. So in learning about the real him, we learn about his career, we learn about his battle with depression. Also, we find out about his battle with drugs as well. This book shared with us a side of Robin Williams that none of us, or most of us, have never seen before. I mean, especially his battle with depression. I mean, like, we never really know who's suffering from depression or who's going through things, because everybody's going through something. But remember, depression does not have a face. Robin Williams is a prime example of that. This is a guy that on TV, he seems like he's happy-go-lucky, he's excited, he's having fun, smiling and laughing all the time, but on the inside, he's battling some really dark demons. And if you guys know anybody who's suffering from depression, who's going through something, encourage them to seek help. Regardless to what, I really enjoyed this book and learning all about him because he's actually one of my favorite comedians. The next book I read this summer is called The Like Switch. It's the ex-FBI agent's guide to influencing, attracting, and winning over people. This book pretty much teaches you how to be a people magnet. Ain't nothing wrong with that because people make the world go round. And this book kind of reminded me honestly of that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, don't get me wrong, I learned a lot from this book, but at the same time, I can see a lot of the things in that other book applied here as well. And it's cool because he goes into talking about how he used to speak to criminals, gain their trust, where they become comfortable enough to tell him all of their secrets and all of the crimes that they did and details and things like that. So you learn a lot within this book, and check it out. It's really interesting to find out how the psychology of people actually works. The next book I read this summer was Jack the Ripper, Live and Uncut. Now, this is an amazing story. It's actually written by Matt Lation. This is actually one of those books and one of those stories that I feel like I actually experienced. I read this book on my way to Florida on a road trip, so I had a lot of time to really dive deep. I even annotated some pages. I don't know if you can see that, but I actually annotated some of the pages in here. This book is so well written and it actually makes you feel like you're part of the story. It's pretty much about the investigative reporter Carl Axford. He gets recruited by a company called Limbo. They come at him with the proposition to investigate the story of a lifetime, which is the story of Jack the Ripper and his murders. I mean, this is a crime that has never been solved. How is Carl actually gonna go and solve these murders? Well, into this book, I don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but a lot of awesome, crazy stuff happens. Matt Lation, the author, actually posted some true facts and things that really happened in and during the actual crimes that were committed. He actually shares with us pictures of different scenes and things like that, all in this book. This is a crazy, adventurous ride, and this is definitely one of those books that I will be rereading all over again to experience a second time. And another crazy thing about it, if you think about it, the Jack the Ripper's murders happened over 100 years ago. So how is Carl expected to go and solve a crime that's been like a cold case for so many years, definitely gotta pick this up and check it out and read it. You guys will not regret it. The next book I read this summer is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. And this book, it captivated me from the beginning when it first came out. I mean, it's been on my TBR for like the longest. I wish I would have read it sooner. But in any case, this is the story of Catherine, who is the Queen of Hearts. You know, she's the tyrant, the domineering queen from the Alice in Wonderland story. The queen who screams, "Off with your head." And that's who this story is about. But Catherine wasn't always a tyrant, domineering person. She was a soft and loving and caring person, and a girl who just wanted to fall in love. But you know, the person who was trying to get her affection, the person that was really trying to win her love, who is the King of Hearts, she didn't want him. She wanted someone else. And it was so very frowned upon for her to like this other person. Who's this other person? She falls in love with the court jester of the king who's trying to win her heart. Isn't that something? So a lot of crazy things happen. This book is full of love, adventure, and longing, and a whole bunch of things. Like, you know, you can't be heartless while reading this book, because this will definitely pull some stuff going on with your feelings. This story really warmed my heart, as well as broke it, as well as gave me so many adventures that I could think of with this book. So yeah, Heartless is an amazing story. I love this book. The next book I read this summer was Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Now, this follows Simon, who's a 16-year-old high school student, and he is a not so outwardly gay teenage boy. So Simon's actually been emailing with a boy. He doesn't know what this boy looks like or anything like that. You know, he's been emailing kind of like in a pen pal kind of way, but the emails end up in the wrong hands. So now Simon is kind of panicky because he just might be outed to the whole entire school. So what ends up happening, I love this book because I was just constantly thinking about, who is this person? Who is he writing to? Like, I was just always, you know, thinking about, could it be this person or that person? And I love this book because this book wrapped me up and just had me. And it was just a really fun story to read. It was quick. It was written by Becky Albertalli, who's also a famous author who wrote a bunch of other books. But definitely this book is really, really good. The next book I read this summer is called Tuesdays with Maurey by Mitch Albern. I read this book in one day and I just love all of the lessons that were given. It was just a touching story about life lessons given by an older man in his 80s. Maurey was in his last months of life when this book was actually being put together. He was diagnosed with ALS, which is a debilitating nerve disease. Mitch actually visited Maurey every Tuesday because Maurey used to be Mitch's college professor. So he used to have classes on Tuesdays, and now he started up, you know, these classes for these life lessons, and I believe he actually recorded some of them as well. So they rekindled their relationship and turned it into a lesson on life, love, friendship, relationships, and all of these other things. And this book was definitely a tearjerker for me. The next book I read this summer was Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is the first book in the Lunar Chronicles. So this is supposed to be a Cinderella retelling, but in this story, Cinderella is actually a cyborg mechanic. Isn't that crazy? So many things happened in this book, and I felt for her. Like, my heart really went out for her in this book. And you know what's so funny? That's something that the original story never really did. But I found this book so interesting. It's so crazy because her stepsister ends up getting sick from some viral infection that's going around, and Cinder gets blamed for it. Like, and then she gets threatened to go to war and to fight. Does she go? I guess you're gonna have to read it and find out. Like, so many things happen. I love this book. I can't wait to read the other one. Have it in my bookshelf somewhere, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading the second book in the series. The next book I read this summer is actually called A Little Something Different. Now, this book, it was like, reading this book was very weird for me because this is a story of two people falling in love with each other, but it's told from the perspective of people that are witnessing this happening. So it's teachers, it's friends, it's people that work in diners. Like, it's told from so many other people's different perspective, and it's a really heartwarming, it's a cute story. It's called A Little Something Different. The next book I read, which is something that I should have read, I feel like I should have read years ago, because I'm so way behind on this. Like, I should have jumped on the wagon and leaped on the wagon and something when this book came out. Because I'm so far behind. Now they got like 12 books. I'm exaggerating, but you know, there's so many books in this series, and I'm talking about the Harry Potter series. I actually read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I really had so much fun reading this. You know, I couldn't help going back in my mind and thinking about certain parts of the movie that happened, and I really enjoyed this book. And I gotta say, this is actually better than the movie, but I know you guys aren't surprised about that. So we're following Harry Potter in this one. I actually have the second one, and I can't wait to get into that. And a lot of people on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook always said, you know, I wish I could experience this book again for the first time, and I'm so glad that I did. I can't wait to go to the second one. This one was kind of like, the language in this one is very easy to understand, and I know that as the series goes forward, the language becomes more adult or more young adults. I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to read the second one. Chamber of Secrets is gonna be next. The next book I read, which is another book that was on my TBR forever, and I wanted to read it so bad, this one in particular, but I knew I had to read the first book in order to go to the second so I could understand everything that's going on. So the book I'm talking about is Court of Mist and Fury. OMG, we follow Feyre, Rhys, Tamlin, and all of that stuff. In this story, it kind of takes over from where the last book kind of left off, and I love how Sarah J. Maas writes. Like, I think she's gonna be one of my favorite authors. So in this book, Feyre actually has to deal with the bargain that she made with Rhys, and now it's time to pay up, and that's exactly what she had to do. You know, and you find out the developments of her and Tamlin's relationship and what happens between her and Rhys, and there's just so much stuff going on in this book. OMG, and it's kind of a hefty read, but it's fun, it's descriptive, it's a lot of hot steamy parts in this book as well, and I love this book. I think I'm gonna love this series, even though I'm hearing kind of, you know, mixed reviews of the last one. But this one, guys, I love this one. So there you have it, guys. Those are the books that I read this summer. My ultimate summer reading list. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you want to hang out, you can go and check out the BookTube and BookTubers Facebook group and feed your need there for more bookish content. You can post your videos. You can post your bookish content, pictures of your books, like everything books is going on in that group, and come hang out, add yourself, and you know, join the party over there. So do you consider yourself a book nerd, book lover, book addict, or book geek? Feed your need now by subscribing for more bookish videos. Take care, guys.